What's up, guys? I'm John Haas, RN, founder of nursing.com, and I'm here with,
Marie Clark. Oh, yeah, me. So I'm Marie Clark, and I am the question director here at nursing.com.
And today we wanted to come on and talk specifically. We're kind of rushing together. You can tell we're piecing everything together as we go. I'm actually in my closet here trying to hide the mess from you guys. And Marie's at her normal workstation because she always works remote. But with everything that's kind of exploded over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of concerns about, well, I already had my NCLEX scheduled, or I was planning to take my NCLEX here in the next little bit. And the first kind of piece of information we got from Pearson VUE was they're closing all testing centers. And then they came back a couple days later through the NCSBN and made some updates to that. So specifically right now, we want to talk about what those updates are. Marie's been on top of this, and so I want to let her kind of talk about what those updates are, and then we'll talk about where they take place and kind of what you guys can do. So go ahead, Marie.
All right, so first keep in mind that Pearson VUE, NCSBN, just like everybody, is scrambling to figure out what we're supposed to do. And it's pretty anxiety provoking, I will even say, for me, looking from a distance. But they're making some solutions, and I think their main point here is that they want to be able to test as many students as they can under the circumstances. So just like all of us are told to stay 6 feet away from each other and no more than 10 people gathering at a time in a lot of areas, including my own here in Colorado, the Pearson VUE testing centers are implementing these same things and also trying to get the students through as quickly as possible to test. And so what that looks like is they are shortening the NCLEX. So if ever there was a time where you maybe want to take the NCLEX, it's now. We're talking, instead of 75 questions minimum, you would only have 60 minimum and then up to 130 questions. And so that's the first and the biggest change. The other one is, instead of having 6 hours to take these questions, you have 4. But I was thinking through that, and I'm like, okay, well, 265 questions max or 130 questions max, you're actually getting more time per question. So this is a good thing for you. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that kind of helps ease your anxiety a little bit. You have to go in and check your email, because if your test was canceled, you will get an email about that. So keep looking for that. And I will tell you that I was trying to get information yesterday from Pearson VUE. So I hop onto their chat, and I was literally on chat for 2 hours and did not get any response at all. And then I emailed, and I also didn't hear back. So that's kind of frustrating. I'm sure you guys feel frustrated too, but we just have to do the best with what we can. Call, check your email. If you get an email from them, you can respond to that. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're dealing with, John.
So I guess my first question is then that you would have maybe already gotten an email from Pearson VUE when they made the first change of canceling. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are they then coming back and saying, we're going to re-email you and say, never mind? Or do you know yet? Is it a rescheduled thing, or is it it's back on, find out, or what?
You know, I am not sure, because it changes so much every day, but I believe if your test was originally canceled, it's probably still canceled, but I guess I'm not really sure about that, John.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And I thought about the same thing you did too, as far as like, this is the time to take it if you can get in, because from what I read, usually those first 15 questions on any NCLEX exam are those kind of testing, trying out the new NGN stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And they've ripped all that out entirely. So you won't be seeing these crazy new weird question formats. You're right to your test immediately with the ability to get out in at 60 questions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I guess the silver lining
Beautiful.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. And then talk about locations. You had sent something to me over chat yesterday about kind of what locations have been canceled and stuff. Can you explain some of that?
Yeah, so starting today, March 25th, is when they are opening test centers again for testing with those new changes. And so the information that you can find online is that they're going to open 60 test centers today, and they're going to be in large metropolitan areas. And so my guess would be the largest. However, that's why I was trying to get a hold of them, is I was trying to figure out which testing centers were open. but that's actually not public information. You have to have your authorization to test, sign in and sign up to take a test before you can see what test centers are open.
I want to face palm really bad right now, but I'm not allowed to because of COVID. So, goodness. So yeah, so you kind of did a little tricky thing there by getting online and saying, what are the largest cities? And you are assuming those would be some of them. But I know, for example, like in Texas, there's one in Dallas where I took it, right? Kind of North Dallas. And then like Tyler, Texas, about an hour away has one. My guess would be Tyler's probably not going to be open because it's a little town of 80,000 people.
Okay.
But probably some of these Dallas ones would be, is your guess?
Yeah, so I basically just Googled like what are the top 10 metropolitan areas in North America, because we're also talking Canada. So New York City, LA, Chicago, and then your town of Dallas Fort Worth is number 5 and Houston is number 6. Then we go to Toronto, Washington, DC, Philadelphia, Miami, and Atlanta. So those are the top 10, and we just, I don't know what to tell you about how to find out any more.
Right, so it seems like, so again, we don't know this, and so a lot of what I'll say here is probably speculation, but it sounds like, you know, on, what was it, like the 19th or so of March, when Pearson VUE sent out mass emails saying it's all canceled, then it was like the 20th or so, they said, hey, we might be opening more. It sounds like maybe you need like an authorization to test to get into one of those new centers, possibly.
Yes.
Oh, so or not new centers, but one of those open centers. Now.
One of the open centers, yep. And again, your way of signing up through your program is when you go in, is when you can find out where you can test. So hopefully we're not talking a road trip of like 12 hours.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool, not cool. Good information. Good to get it out there. And I think that this will help a lot of people. The next thing I want to talk about, Marie, is in line with this is the Simplex. Maybe explain, first of all, what the Simplex is, and then kind of our response there.
Totally. So if you haven't heard of the Simplex, then you are in for a treat. So the Simplex is our computer adaptive test, and it mimics the NCLEX with algorithms behind the scenes that would blow your mind. It blows my mind. I don't even totally understand it. But if you are going to take the NCLEX and you're thinking about those changes that have been implemented, our Simplex actually has those same exact changes right now. They updated that as soon as we found out. And so instead of having 75 questions minimum on our Simplex, you would have 60, just like the new changes with the NCSBN. So 60 to 130. And then we also have that 4-hour time limit. As far as difficulty is concerned, nothing is changing with the NCLEX or our Simplex. So that's going to stay exactly the same. And then the question formats are also exactly the same as they have been. So
can you see
yep.
Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. So I wanted to log in here really quick and show people where they can get to the Simplex. It's under the NCLEX Prep Academy. So if you go into nursing.com under the NCLEX Prep Academy, you can see right here, they just pushed this update before Pearson VUE even pushed their update. So we were even ahead of them. So that's pretty cool. I think they pushed it about 11 p.m. last night, Central Time. And you can see here, we paid this massively ugly designed by engineering update here. So you can know that this is different than what your previous Simplex would have been. But the reason we did this, to talk to what Marie said, is because this is what you're going to experience when you go take the NCLEX. And we want to stay as true to the NCLEX as possible. Delivering for you guys 265 questions or 100 questions or just a quiz would be worthless to you. We want you to simulate the NCLEX. So you can see here, due to COVID, we've updated it, minimum 60, maximum 130, 4-hour time limit. And then we've even put a link here for you guys to be able to go and read from the NCSBN their update. And then we even, anyway, maybe I'll just take one question here, show you guys what it looks like. So we need an update right there. So then when you start this, so talk about this screen and why it's so ugly.
All right, yeah, so we're all about the ugly today, but that is because we are mimicking exactly how it looks and feels when you take the real NCLEX. So what you see here is very close to the real NCLEX.
Yeah, and so as soon as I submit that question, so that first question it delivers to me is kind of rando, But as soon as I submit that first question, in the background, all these algorithms are driving what your next question is going to be. And so what a lot of, well, and I'll have you answer this, Marie, but we get a lot of questions about people will post their pass fail graphs for Simplex, and they'll say, it's weird because I got more questions right this time, but I failed. Or I only got 30 questions right and I passed. What's going on? So can you talk to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, I follow some of those on Facebook too, where people take a minimum amount but don't pass, and or get the same amount as someone else. One person passed and one person didn't. So the way that the computer adaptive testing works is you are fed the next question based on how well you did on the question before. And so you could get 100 questions just like the next person, but your 100 questions were more difficult, and this person's 100 questions were really easy. So that could mean that you pass in 100, that person fails in 100, and it might be confusing, but the way it works is it's all based on the difficulty of the question.
Right. Yeah. So it's all designed to give you the most simulated experience possible of the NCLEX, so that when you, because one of my biggest fears, and Marie and I were just talking about this before we started, is I've been a nurse for what it was like 7 years or something like that. Marie's been a nurse for over 10 years. My biggest fear personally going into the NCLEX was I don't know what it actually looks like or feels like or how it acts. I hadn't really taken computer adaptive tests. Even in nursing school, they would give us a 75 test or question test. I took all these question banks. I took thousands and thousands of questions going into it. And so my wife, Sandy, she would always say, you're fine, it's going to be fine. I was like, yeah, but I don't know that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that anxiety would build up. But the purpose of Simplex is to give you that real experience. So you shouldn't take Simplex until your final semester in nursing school. And it's most helpful for you in that month leading up to the NCLEX, because you have all that knowledge in your brain, and Simplex is all about giving you that experience as you work through it. Anything else about that, Marie?
I think one thing I just wanted to say was in our NPQ bank, I think we do such a good job at nursing.com about helping students know when they're at that point where they're probably going to pass the NCLEX. We have this 55% recommendation where if you're going through our question bank and you're getting 50 to 60% right, then you have a really good chance of passing. So I think that's really reassuring, just to add on to that.
Yeah. Well, this is a little sneak peek for people, I guess. So I have the new, can you see my screen again?
Yep.
So I have the new NPQ. We're releasing a brand new NPQ that is a much more simple and more complex quiz builder platform than anything we've had before. It allows you to very quickly start questions based on anything you want. And you can see kind of, as Marie was talking, that 55 or so % we shoot for, you can quickly see on all your categories how you're doing. So any of my categories that are red here, I really should be practicing on, so I can select all that. So let me go into just, let's say here, but then I can make it much more complex in how I build a quiz by pulling in all these NCLEX categories, question types, quiz mode, just test my incorrect. And if I'm a first or second semester student, I want to deal with question difficulty 1 or 2, right? As I'm third, fourth semester, I want to bring in all category difficulties or focus on 3. So you can see with NPQ or nursing practice questions, we let you be in the driver's seat and pick what it is most important for you to study. When you get to Simplex, we kind of take control of that, because that's what you're going to experience as you get into to take the NCLEX. So I'll take a question here. We can show what these are all about. And the internet's slow because it's slow for everybody right now, sorry. So the best part about these NPQ questions is what happens when you hit submit. And that's what we kind of say, like in marketing, what we talk about is the learning begins on submit. Like you take the question, but your learning begins here. Marie, you want to talk about this screen, and I'll kind of scroll through as you talk?
Sure. So this is when your view of a question in our NPQ bank. So when you get a question, either right or wrong, everything's going to pop up for all of the answers. So you can see the rationale for the correct answer here, and then every incorrect answer as well. And then as you go down, we also attach to all these questions our study tools. So here's a nursing process cheat sheet. We have references, and you can see how you do compared to other nurses too.
So a lot of these, and I'll talk to this again too, like part of some of the features here were built with some of our anxieties of I went to a small private nursing school, and so I honestly had no clue how I compared to someone who went to Baylor or to, one of these Penn State or this fancy nursing school. And so even though I was doing well in my cohort and I was doing well on these online question banks, I didn't know what that meant compared to everyone else. So if I got a question, like if I got this question wrong, I probably need to be a little concerned. Like this is something I need to know because 63% of people are getting this right. So I should be able to do a little better. And that's great. So if I get it wrong, I can come in here and study post-traumatic stress disorder immediately from that question. So that's pretty cool, I think. If I click the video, it will play right inside the rationale.
Yep. Yeah, we added a lot of resources and it's only getting better, I think.
Yes, ma'am. So let's talk Simplex a little more. So, so right now, what we've done as part of our response to the COVID is we've discounted the price of our NCLEX Prep Academy, where normally it's in line with all the other tools out there, about $329 or something like that, I think. We've decreased that price by 36%. And this is to help you guys. We know a lot of you are either worried about student loans right now because maybe you can't work. You have all the regular financial stresses. So we wanted to get this available to as many people as possible. And so until May 15th, we're going to take as much of a hit of it as we can. We dropped the price by 36%. So I think it's $210 or something like that. You get our NCLEX prep course, you get NPQ, you get our, I don't have an NCLEX book here, but we have our own NCLEX book that's about like this thick or something that you get the digital version of. And you get Simplex, meaning you also get all the updates that we've just released to make it as realistic as what you're going to be taking. And I think with it, you get 5 attempts. Do you know for sure, Maria? I don't remember.
It's 3 or 5. Yeah.
3 or 5. And the reason, so a lot of people ask, why don't we give unlimited attempts? Do you want to answer that, Marie, or?
I can try. Yeah, so we limit it to normally 3 to 5 for a couple different reasons. One big one is that you shouldn't be using the Simplex experience to improve your knowledge base. And so we were finding that some people were taking this test over and over and over and over again, and it's just not the way that we would recommend that you study. And so we wanted to limit it to the number of times you take it. Another reason is when you sit down and take our Simplex, you need to behave as if it's the real thing. And you don't have the capacity to do that 15 times. You have the capacity to do that just a few times. And so those are a couple of the reasons. I don't know if you want to talk, if there's other reasons that you can think of, John.
That's it. So yeah, if you were to take it 15 times, that's 90 hours of NCLEX practice. That's not realistic, and it's not appropriate. So it doesn't hurt us as nursing.com to let you take it 3 trillion times. It truly hurts you and your ability to see where you really are. And that's why we really, if I could, I would make it so no one except 4th semester students could access it, because that's when it's most helpful. You're not getting a realistic NCLEX experience if you do it in your first semester. And I don't give a shit if you can pass it your first semester because you can't even take it yet. So you need to be waiting until closer to the end, and that's spot on.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys go to nursing.com, if you already are a member of the NCLEX Academy, you'll see these updates immediately right now when you log in. If you're not, until May 15th, we've cut the price down by 36%. You can get in there. You can get in there and start testing immediately. If you don't want that NCLEX Prep Academy, we have what's called the NCLEX or NPQ plus Simplex plan. I think that's $149. I think
you're right.
Okay, I think that's right. I haven't looked at it in a little bit. Yeah. So you can start doing that, and that gives you full access to 6,000 plus-ish questions.
Yeah.
All written by NCSBN trained question writers.
Indeed.
With these advanced rationales, the quiz builder, which we're going to be releasing to everybody probably today or tomorrow, by the way.
Cool.
And then obviously Simplex, you get 3 attempts, I believe, of Simplex. So guys, we want you to succeed. And that's why we're building these tools that we can quickly give you what you need. I don't think that you're going to find this response anywhere else.
No.
And this is a lot of work. And I was up, like I said, messaging with Dan, our VP of engineering, and Rich, who manages a lot of the question work here. in engineering until 11 or so last night, where they were working on this stuff. And Rich is the engineer you want behind this. He's locked himself in a one-bedroom apartment surrounded by whiteboards with odd statistical scribblings all over the place. If you've seen Beautiful Mind, think that. But that's what we got working on it. And then Marie eats, sleeps, and breathes. I think you've been with us for almost 2 years, right?
Yeah, I totally missed it. It was like March 13th. It was 2 years
really?
for me. So yeah, like,
That's
oh yeah,
crazy.
but it was as a contractor back then. But yeah,
And in those 2 years, 90% of our time has been NCLEX questions.
for sure. Yes, digging deep into that stuff.
Yeah, this is the team that you want to trust your future with. And I believe that, and that's why we have them working on it. So what else do you want to say, Marie?
One more thing came to mind.
Yeah.
So we talked about there being 60 centers opening starting today. And if all goes well at these 60, on the 28th, which is, I think, Saturday, they're going to open even more. So that's something to keep in mind too, if there's not a testing center that's open near you.
Awesome. If you guys have any questions about this, please reach out to support. They're working their butts off right now with all the changes and stuff to everybody's life. But they are trying to stay on top of everything as fast as they can. You can reach out to them at contact@nursing.com. But we want you guys to succeed. And like we always say, happy nursing.
Happy nursing.